Right there, folks. How are you all doing? So a slight mix-up here. The plan was this evening at 8 p.m. I was going to be interviewing Matthew Kirtley of the Social Democratic Party. He's the chairman of the SDP's youth wing, and I was going to be talking to him about the anniversary of the founding of the SDP, and also about their policies and what they were going to be doing in the run-up to the local elections. And we'd agreed on this about a week and a half ago and set a time and a date for it, but I haven't heard from him. And I sent him a message earlier on in the day, and haven't had a reply. And I've given it about 25 minutes after we were due to start streaming. But he is MIA. The man is missing in action. Now, far be it from me to deprive you people of the content I promise you. I tell you there's going to be a stream tonight with Matthew from the SDP, and by God, you're going to get one. We're just going to have to do a few little tweaks to the thing, aren't we? So I will be playing the role of both interviewer and interviewee for this stream here today. And hopefully we can offer you a satisfying enough look at the SDP, regardless of the fact that the guest has not turned up. Now, I know that this is somewhat unprecedented, but we are going to muddle through, and by God, we are going to make it work. So before we get started, I will just be taking one last little look at Twitter. Has the man shown up? Are there any last minute reply? I don't think so. No. Okay. Well, this is an amazing development, isn't it? Oh, well, it's fine. It's fine. We were going to get a social democrat called Matthew on. Fortunately, there's already a social democrat called Matthew here. So we shall make do. I'll read through a few of your comments just very quickly before we go any further. So, Futurama fan says, I see we're going back to 2020 Swiss streams where he himself is the guest. Bobovish says, ask his mother to do the interview. We will get started anyway. So anyway, I'm very pleased, guys, to have Matthew from the Social Democratic Party here with us today. Matthew, how are you doing? Yeah, not bad, Swiss. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate the fact that you invited me onto your channel, and obviously I arrived in a timely manner and let you know that I'd be coming here for the interview. And I appreciate that. That's the least that I expect from a person who agrees that they'll come on the channel. I mean, if a person weren't able to do so and they had to cancel, at least maybe if they could send me a message or let me know. Of course, yeah, exactly. That'd be an awful thing to do, just not to turn up, wouldn't it? Yes, completely agreed. So anyway, you are the chairman of the SDP's youth wing. Do you want to tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that and, your general interest in politics? Yes, no problem. Well, traditionally, I've always found that the main two parties, both Labour and the Conservatives, have been a bit lacking when it comes to what I'm looking for. I think sometimes on certain issues, you can't really tell the two of them apart. I seriously didn't like what's been going on with Labour in the last few years. So I joined the SDP only a few years ago. But the importance of the youth wing is trying to get young folk into the SDP as well, because the rich tapestry of our politics is made by the blood of the young. That's quite a bold statement there. The rich tapestry. Well, I'm not afraid for a little bit of a poetic language there. Apollo CD says that according to the wiki, the SDP currently have no councillors. Yes, well, we're a small party. Obviously, we've been around for some time, but it's only in the last few years that we've been rebuilding following the new declaration. So we don't have any elected representatives yet, but we're hoping to change that at the local elections this year. Oh, so you are going to be standing candidates in the locals then? Yes, we're going to be targeting many areas in the locals. Can you give me an idea of some of these areas that you are going to be targeting? No, for whatever reason, I don't have that information available. Okay, then no problem. We will move swiftly on. So I have some questions here that were sent in from people on Twitter just to put to you about the Social Democratic Party and their policies. Do you mind if I read a few of these out? Yes, no problem, Matthew. Go ahead. All right, excellent. So we'll just hop onto some of these that we got from. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I seem to have lost these here. Let me just bring these up. We will find them. I'm terribly sorry, Matthew. This is awfully unprofessional of me not to have these questions ready here. I'll have them for you in just a moment. Okay. I had the tab open a second ago and everything. Okay, reply with your questions you'd like me to put to our SDP interviewee this Sunday. Okay. Right, are you ready, Matthew? Yes, fire away, Matthew. All right, then. Liberaven on Twitter asks, what policy areas do they think Labour have right? And what do they think the Conservatives have right? Well, as far as the Labour Party is concerned, we do believe in a role for the state. There wasn't an awful lot of common ground between us and the Labour Party under Corbyn, but one of the things that we do agree on is the need for nationalisation of the railways and for Royal Mail, for that matter. Does that mean you're looking to nationalise lots of other areas of the economy as well? No, just certain areas. There are some things that we see certain amounts of public support for, and we think it's quite sensible that we have ownership over these things. I see. Okay, thank you for that. Liberaven also asks, what is your definition of social democracy? Social democracy fundamentally is a mixture between the state and the free market. We believe that there should be public services for people. We believe that there should be a safety net of sorts, but we're not about to go full red like those bloody commies in Labour. Whoa, steady on there, Matthew. Bloody commies in Labour? That's a bit much, isn't it? Look, listen, mate. I will say whatever the hell I want, all right? I'll call them fucking commies if I want to call them commies. Well, all right then, Matthew. All right. So basically, it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, a mixture of Labour and the Conservatives. In a sense, yes. In a nutshell, that's what we are. We are a communitarian party. We are patriotic. We believe in the values of the family. But we think that the Conservative Party isn't really truly conservative, and the Labour Party has just gone quite mad, basically, with all this woke, politically correct nonsense. Ah, I see. Not a fan of the wokeism, are you? No, not in the slightest, Matthew. Right, well, that was one from Liberaven there. I'm just going to pop to the comments for a moment, Matthew, just to see what the people here in the stream have to say about this. We'll see if we can find some more questions for them. Spontaneous Order says that this is some cutting-edge journalism. Futurama Fan says we are witnessing the live descent of madness that lockdown causes. Chris Collins says respect to Swiss for going ahead anyway. Bubblevis says, what are the differences between social democracy and populism, Matthew? And how do you explain the rise of populism in Europe? Thank you, Matthew. That is a good question. What do you think about populism in general? Well, the problem with populism is that it requires enemies, either enemies within and enemies without. And the reason that we've had this rise in populism is because this two-party duopoly that we've had going on for the last few decades, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, nothing fundamentally ever changes. In fact, we've had double liberalism. We've had economic liberalism and social liberalism. And in part, I think that the rise in populism is a response to this double barrel liberalism, that you see people rejecting the woke doctrine of the left, but also the untapered and dangerous free market and, dare I say, corporatism of the Conservatives. That is a profound take, Matthew. I like the way you think about that. You know, I've actually considered joining the SDP myself in the past. Well, I'd absolutely welcome you. I think that you're just a tad too old for the youth wing, but we'd be more than happy to have you on board. Oh, Matthew, you are kind. Right. A few more comments that we've got here. Bobovis says that Matthew is he says that you're a genius pundit. Well, thank you very much. I'll take that in the spirit that it was intended. So we're going to move on to a few more comments that we've got on Twitter here for Matthew. Let's have a quick look. Callum Ferguson asks, is the SDP content to reform capitalism, social democracy, or do they wish to fundamentally shift society to favour the worker, democratic socialism? Well, the SDP obviously believes that there is a role for the unions, But I wouldn't describe us as being democratic socialists. I think that's more akin to that of the Labour Party at present. We believe that there needs to be a mix. We believe in a mixed market, and we think that sensible centrist approach is probably the right way to do things. Wishy-washy centrism, you say, Matthew? Right, we have another question here. Let me have a look. Leighton asks, what would be your sales pitch to someone who is looking for a new party? My sales pitch would be this, Matthew. Hang on just a moment. No, go ahead, Matthew. I understand that there can be pressure involved when you're appearing on stream. Sometimes you need to collect your thoughts. Sometimes you need to stall for time while you think of an answer. I completely appreciate and understand. I think I'm ready to answer your question. Go ahead, Matthew, by all means, by all means. Okay. My pitch to anyone out there looking for a new party to join would be to say, do you think there have been any fundamental and meaningful changes and differences with the two-party duopoly that is Labour and the Conservatives? Are you sick of seeing the Conservatives privatising their grandma to sell her down the river? Are you sick of seeing Labour espouse their woke nonsense of white privilege and so on and so on and so forth and so forth? Are you looking for a party that puts family, community, patriotism at the heart of what it seeks to do? And yes, we were pro-Brexit. Oh, pro-Brexit, you say? I was pro-Brexit. Yes, I know you were, Captain Swiss. You made a big deal out of it over many years on your YouTube channel. Have you been watching my YouTube channel, Matthew? I thought we'd only met the other week. Well, that's where you're wrong. I've actually been a big fan of yours. Donated some money on the Patreon as well. Captain Swiss on Patreon. By all means. Now. There's no need to plug and shill for my Patreon while you're here on the channel. I appreciate that. I really do, but I don't need you doing that right now. So anyway, back to your pitch. No, that was basically it as far as the pitch goes. If you want a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, but not in a Liberal Democrat kind of way, the SDP is your bag. All right, then. Well, I'll take that into consideration. Thank you for that one, Matthew. Let me see. Average Joe asks, wonky question incoming. Watch out for this one, Matthew. Oh, I'm ready. Bring it on. Wonky question incoming. What's the SDP stance on cooperatives, and do they have policies towards the cooperative sector? So how about that then, Matthew? Policy on cooperatives? Yeah. No, not to my knowledge. Well, that was a very direct answer, Matthew, so I appreciate you answering that one as well as you could there. We'll have a look at a few more questions that we've had on Twitter. LGE asks, are these the freaks that got banned from Facebook and still haven't learnt their lesson on free speech? I'll take that one, Matthew. I think he's confusing the SDP, the Social Democratic Party, for the SWP, the Socialist Workers' Party, who recently had their page removed on Facebook. Oh, yes. An easy mistake to make. An acronym of only but one letter difference. Anyone could make that kind of error. Absolutely. But no problem. Okay, next question then. Let's see. David Christie. Oh, this one's a little bit mean-spirited. When was the last time they stabbed the Labour movement in the back? Well, that would probably be Limehouse, when we split off and formed our own party. Now, Matthew, now. Behave yourself. Well, it wasn't a very fair question, to be honest, Swiss, was it? I came here onto your channel to have a genuine interview about the issues, to talk about the policies, to promote my political party, and you didn't fucking turn up. And now you're asking me these kinds of questions. The bottom of the barrel shits from people who sent you things on Twitter. Well, look, I wasn't going to ask these questions. I was going to skim over them. But you know what? I'm having to do a two-man interview by myself, so I will ask you the tricky questions given that you're not here. Oh, but I am. Yes, but it gets confusing when we address the fact there's only one person in the room, doesn't it? Next question, if we can find any more. Okay, I think we've just about got to what we were going to get here from Twitter. So we'll pop over to the chat here on YouTube and see what people are saying. Spontaneous Order says stream guest of the year. Ambient Wave says this needs to go viral. Liberty Prime says, do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. Yes, the Muffin Man. Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Drury Lane? Yes, I'm glad we're both familiar. See, I appreciate the fact that we can find these commonalities between us here. Scott Bauer says, did you somehow discover the method by which Joe Biden cloned himself? Oh, yes, the other Biden. Futurama fan asks, what is your strategy for getting any MPs in power since the three main parties have so much influence and control? Well, that's a good question. And obviously, it's difficult for any minor party to gain a foothold under the first past the post system. We, like many of the minor parties, are campaigning to have that changed. We want to bring in proportional representation. It means that people are much freer to vote for the party that they wish to support, rather than being forced into either one or two of the lesser evils that happen to be in their seat. So it's difficult, and it's a matter of just trying to amass that support in certain areas, trying to build things up at a local level, which is why these local elections are going to be so important for us. But you know, I'm not going to bullshit you here, Matthew. I really would. I don't want you to bullshit me here. Be honest. We probably won't have any MPs for a long time. It's pretty much going to be a few councillors we're going to get for the time being. Maybe we'll get a few councillors in the local elections. We'll be pretty happy with that. But we're starting off from a very low benchmark. Not that many people have heard of us. That's why it's so important that people like you are inviting people from our party onto your YouTube channel, so we can talk about our party and the policies and actually promote ourselves. Well, I really appreciate the fact that you'd say that, and that's what I try to do here on Captain Swiss. I want to get a platform to find out more about the minor political parties. People can make their case to my viewers and tell them a little bit about what they're about. But of course, that does involve turning up, doesn't it, Matthew? Oh yes, quite so, quite so. It'd be very difficult to inform people about the SDP and trying to encourage them to vote for the SDP if, in fact, the person you're due to interview from the SDP does not actually turn up for the stream. It's a good thing that didn't happen, isn't it? Oh yes, definitely. Next comment that we have here, Liberty Prime says, does he believe the Democratic Social Party, the Party of Social Democrats, the youth wing of the Social Party and the Party of the Social Democrats are splitters? That's I don't think that was a serious question there, Captain Swiss. No, I feel for whatever reason that some of the people in the side chat here today are not taking this interview particularly seriously, which is a great shame. I get a few shit posters from time to time, but they're really on top form here tonight. We'll just go through, see if we can find any more questions here from you guys in the chat. I think we've just about got to the bottom of the list there. I'm just going to nip into my inbox on Twitter very quickly. No, okay, still haven't had anything yet. That's a relief. What we're going to do then, Matthew, is go onto the website for the SDP, and maybe we can find out a little bit more about your party from the site. Does that sound good to you? Yes, please do, please do. I've been struggling here, to be honest with you. I'm starting to run out of things to tell you, which is strange given that you are the chairman of the youth wing of the Social Democratic Party. You should have a full complement of answers to give me about all facets of SDP policy. For whatever reason, I'm not on my top game today. I can't tell you why. Call it a mental blip, if you will. Okay, no problem. Well, I'll put you to the side just for a moment, Matthew. We'll take a look at the website here instead. So I'm just going to share this with you guys on StreamYard here, and we're just going to read out a little bit about the Social Democrats. So, okay, the About section of the SDP. So, Matthew, in a nutshell, could you tell me what the Social Democratic, excuse me, could you tell me what the Social Democratic Party is about? Could you lay out where you sit on the political spectrum and what you hope to represent? Yes, absolutely, Swiss. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. The SDP is a patriotic, economically left-leaning and culturally traditional political party. We have a long and distinct political heritage, the party's roots going back to 1981. My goodness, you've been around for 40 years. I know, it's been a while, hasn't it? When four prominent Labour MPs Four prominent Labour Party figures issued the Limehouse Declaration. We are a patriotic, economically left-leaning country. I've read that bit already. Our flagship social market economic model views the private sector and the public sector not as opponents, but as complementary parts of the same society. We think individualism has overstepped. Instead, we focus on what unites us and brings us together at the level of the family, community, and the nation. That's pretty much what you'd already answered when I was asking you questions earlier on. Yes, I'm more familiar with this area of what the SDP is about than anything else. Well, that was a nice summary at the very least. I appreciate you offering that to me, Matthew. All right, guys. So we'll take a look at a last few more comments that we've got here. Futurama fan says, Matthew, do you think Swiss will ever do another Pokemon stream? What do you think? Well, I hope so. I've really been enjoying your Pokemon Nuzlocke runs. I was impressed the fact that you managed to beat Red. It was a shame you didn't manage to beat Gold last year. But doing Pokemon Yellow, I think it's been nice that you've revisited Gen 1. Your run seems to be going fairly well. Me and my fellow SDP colleagues have been cheering you on from the side chat, even sent a few super chats here and there in order to nickname the Pokemon. I'm going to tell you off again if you start shilling for me once more. Please behave yourself, Matthew. I apologize, but I hope that you'll be doing another Pokemon stream. I appreciate that you've got limited time these days with the fact that you're back at work. Well, that is a problem, yes. With me being back at work, I have had less time for YouTube streaming, and I've had to book things in advance, essentially, just planning when I'm going to do certain streams with certain people, such as the stream with your good self here this evening. If I weren't doing a stream with you from the Social Democratic Party, it's perfectly possible I may have done an episode of Pokemon Yellow today. But you know, we need to keep that content nice and varied, don't we? Yes, absolutely. And once more, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come on your channel, and I'm so glad that I could take advantage of it. But I look forward to seeing the next episode of the Pokemon Yellow Nuzlocke just as soon as you're able to do it, Swiss. I hope you'll be there in the comments. It will be a fun experience for all. A few more comments that we've got here. Bubblevis says that sounds like that website intro sounds good. That website intro to the SDP, conservative lefties. Leon King says, I demand a Pokemon stream tomorrow. Ambient Wave says, does the SDP have a stance on changing the UK time zone? Does the SDP have a stance on changing the UK time zone? Well, we obviously think it's very important to keep track of the time. The SDP supports having clocks in all main government buildings. It encourages punctuality. It means you know whether it's early in the day or late at night, for example. And it's important. Now, hang on a minute. I'm going to have to stop you here. You're waffling, Matthew. The question that was asked was specifically about, do you support changing the time zone? Well, the real question is daylight savings. No, Matthew, no. I've invited you on here, and I'm asking you a very direct question, and I want a direct answer for the Captain Swiss viewers here. I will ask you the question once more, word for word. Does the SDP have a stance on changing the UK time zone? Excuse me, just no, please take your time. We have consultations with the party on various policy areas, and it's important that we have these consultations in order to build a good platform moving forwards for our manifesto. So that, again, Matthew, I'm going to have to press you on this. Do you have a stance on changing the time zone? A simple yes or no answer will suffice. No. Was it really that hard? No, I suppose not. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at a few. Says Scott Bauer, he's almost as evasive as Keir Starmer. Now, I don't want to be compared to Keir Starmer here. Keir Starmer is a wishy-washy politician who does not stand for. No. Don't you go attacking Keir Starmer here. You would not answer a very simple question about changing the time zone of the United Kingdom. Okay, so don't be going after Starmer on this. Where's Keir Starmer in the polls? Fucking 38, 39%. Where's the SDP? Well, we're reminded, but where's the SDP? What level are you polling at? Is it 1%? It could be 1%. Is it what? Are you at 1% in the polls? No. All right. Thank you. So enough of that about Starmer and Boris, for that matter. We're focusing on you today. God, I didn't think this interview would end up getting so heated, but he's just being so fucking damn evasive, isn't he? Scott says, "Oh, Swiss is playing hardball now. You drag that answer out of him." Apollo TD, Swiss for best actor Oscar. All right then, guys. So, do you have any more questions to put to Matthew here? And I will do my best to ask them and try and get some answers out of him. He hasn't been that forthcoming with either direct answers or a great depth of information about the SDP today, which has been unfortunate. But we will persevere and do our best here. Liberty Prime says, okay, actual serious one. If these guys are centrist types, do they see themselves as up-and-coming replacement for the Lib Dems? If not, which party do they wish to take voters from the most? That is quite a good question, actually. Obviously, although the Lib Dems position themselves as being centrist within our political Overton window, like I've said already, we have already suffered enough over the last few years of double liberalism, liberal economics, social liberalism. The Liberal Democrats essentially stand for both of them, not to mention their disgusting Ramonerism. Disgusting Ramona, that's a little bit harsh. The fact is that they were fundamentally undemocratic in opposing our exit from the European Union after the people voted for Brexit. Well, you won't get much disagreement from me there, Matthew. I will agree with you on that part. Yeah, I know. The Lib Dems are absolute fucking shits, aren't they? I mean, they really, they don't stand for anything. Can't be trusted. Now, Matthew, look. I can't have you here on this platform just to chat shit about the Liberal Democrats, okay? It's not going to happen. Can you go back to the video? Oh, okay, yes. So as far as which voters we want to be, ideally we want to be drawing in all voters. We want all voters to vote for our party. There will be old Labour types who feel that the Labour Party has gone far too far with its progressivism and it no longer relates to their day-to-day lives or their family values. Likewise, there may be people who want a little bit of economic responsibility, but they think that the Tories are fucking slimes that cannot be trusted. I see. So essentially your pitch is very similar to that of the Liberal Democrats, in that you say that you are not column A, not column B, but a little bit in the middle where the porridge is just right. I think that's a fair way of summing it up. Yes, we are the porridge that is not too hot and not too cold, but we are not the Liberal Democrats. Well, I thank you for that. I hope that clears that up for you there in the chat. James Fielding says, all this Lib Dem hate. Yes, look, I think that we should at least be respectful to our political opponents here. That I bring you on here to talk about the Social Democratic Party and what your values and your policies are, and instead you're going off on wild tangents, chatting shit about Keir Starmer, shitting all over the Liberal Democrat. Now, come on, Swiss, you know that you like to shit on the Liberal Democrats too. Yes, but for the purpose of being a fair host on this channel, I need to pretend I don't hate them as much as I do. And I do a bloody good job at it, I'll have you know. Anyway, Bubblebiss says, Matthew, what's your opinion on free speech? I think the level of censorship that we've had going on with these social media tech giants is a massive problem. People should be able to disagree with one another and air controversial views and opinions without being shut down. Well, at the very least, that's an area that me and you will agree on, Matthew, even if you've been using your free speech to be incredibly rude about your political opponents here today. Leon King says, so the SDP are like the Tories. I wouldn't feel comfortable with you saying we're like the Tories. Obviously, in some regards, there will be elements of overlap, but we are a communitarian, patriotic, political party that wants to stand up for the family. We believe in a marriage between the public sector and the private sector working together in unison. The Conservative Party are not truly... Would you say that you are a Conservative party? well, we are a culturally traditionalist party. So you're a conservative party. You are socially conservative. Well, no, culturally traditionist. So conservative then, basically. You said yourself earlier on that the Conservatives are not actually conservative, which would make me assume that your position is one of social conservatism. Cultural tradition, social conservatism. I'm going to press you on this, Matthew. Social conservatism, yes or no? Yes. All right, that's all I wanted. Liberty Prime says, Matthew, what is your view on identity politics, bearing in mind that I identify as a 40-foot nuke-throwing patriot robot with laser eyes? I'm not answering that question. I'm only answering serious questions from you. Scott Bauer says, Matthew, does the SDP hate the Welsh as much as Captain Swiss? I wasn't aware that you had a hatred for the Welsh Captain Swiss. I'm not sure if I want to be associated coming on your channel here, if I'm going to be accused of enabling or sharing a platform with someone with hatred for the Welsh. It's a meme, Matthew. It's purely a meme. I don't really have that much of an issue with the Welsh. They are people of a sort at the end of the day, and personally I view the Welsh as opponents rather than enemies. Well, that's a very enlightened view, Captain Swiss. As far as the SDP is concerned, we want to appeal to people in all areas of the UK. We believe firmly in the union. That is why we are going to be standing candidates in England and yes, in England and potentially Scotland and Wales. You don't sound too certain of that, Matthew. Yes, once more, for whatever reason, the information just isn't coming to me right now. I'm struggling a little bit, but we're definitely standing people in England. It's almost as if, Matthew, if I could, can I call you Matt? Yes, I suppose so. All right, Matt. It's almost as if the answers that you're giving me here today only seem to be based on the information that I, Captain Swiss, already know about the SDP and the things that I could guess that a person from the SDP would be likely to tell me, such as you not being able to tell me whether or not you're standing candidates in Scotland and Wales for the local elections. Like I said, we are standing candidates in England and in Wales and Scotland as well. Right, okay. Moving on from that then. Jerry says, how are the SDP left-wing and Eurosceptic? I thought all Leave voters are far-right loonies. Well, that's actually a common misconception. You don't need to be of a political flavour of either the far left or the far right or anything in between to be a Eurosceptic. In fact, for some of your left-wing viewers, Captain Swiss, they may appreciate the argument that if you're outside of the European Union, you have greater freedom to exercise state aid, intervention in your own economy, which is something that you simply cannot do within the EU. So it's not fair at all to paint all Leave voters with the same brush to say that they're far right or anything along those lines. In fact, I think that that's part of the problem of this pervasive, progressive, liberal elite wokeism that we see today, that it's far too easy to dismiss anyone who votes or thinks the wrong way as a racist. I mean, I can't disagree with that. That's a good take, I suppose. Yeah, thank you for that one. Little John UK says lockdown is doing strange things to people. Jerry says, how are the SDP competent enough to rule the country when they're possessing some schizophrenic YouTuber? And Futurama fan offers £2 for a Kickstarter for Captain Swiss's lockdown therapy. Beautiful. And Leighton Royal says, I can't tell if I'm watching a man have a breakdown or just a cracking interview with the SDP. Anyway, Matthew, I think we've been going for about 35 minutes now, and there's only so much time that you can spend flogging a dead horse and stretching the finite amount of information one has on the SDP out into a cohesive interview. Do you have anything left to say? Do you have what do you want to say to the Captain Swiss viewers in order to get them to vote for the SDP? Well, all I'll say is this. if you're tired of the Labour Party and the Conservatives but cannot stomach the Lib Dems, if you believe in the family and the country and a sense of community, if you believe that the public sector and the private sector should work together hand in hand, and what about the time zones? Then you should vote for the SDP. We are a small party at the moment, but we are hoping to gain at least some councillors in the local elections. And we will, yes, the local, I did mean to ask that. How will you be running local councils? What exactly is your MO for an SDP ran council? How would you run one? Responsibly, Captain Swiss. We would run one responsibly. You fucker. So anyway, any last words? No, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come onto your YouTube channel. I know that you're a busy man. You have to go to work. You have to play Pokemon. And, you know, I appreciate the fact that you set aside some time for me at 8 p.m. on a Sunday night to have this interview with me, a representative of the Social Democratic Party. And I am so pleased that I could come along and make the case for why we need a social democratic Britain. Well, with that, I'll say thank you very much, Matthew Kirtley, chairman of the SDP's Youth Wing. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, fuck, have I been screen sharing this the entire time? Okay, time to take that away. Well, that was Matthew Kirtley, chairman of the Social Democratic Party's Youth Wing. I hope you found this interview informative, and obviously you can go and follow them on Twitter. I'll take a few more comments from you guys just real quick. Chris Collins says, question for Matt, can you persuade Captain Swiss to do another live Pokemon Nuzlocke? I want to super chat the name of one of them. We'll get another one of those soon. I'll tell you what, tomorrow night. How about tomorrow night? We'll do a new episode of the Nuzlocke. I'll make that a promise for you. Average Joe says cracking interview. Leon King says best interview ever. Well, I'm pleased you guys have enjoyed it. Obviously we had a slight setback. There was a little bump in the road, but am I really the sort of person to stop a little thing like the person I'm supposed to interview turning up from stopping me from interviewing someone from the SDP? Absolutely fucking not. I will deliver the content that I promise you people. God fucking damn it. So Bubba This says, I like the SDP. Well, I'm so pleased someone's been won over from this fucking interview. Jerry says, still better than Owen Jones. And all right. Good stuff. So anyway, guys, that is it for the time being. Thank you for joining me here for this stream and this interview. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've had fun, drop it a like. And I will see you tomorrow for an episode of the Pokemon Yellow Nuzlocke. So catch you all later on.